as I was saying, the Roe versus Wade case remains one of the most controversial decisions in the history of American jurisprudence. Now, the case hinges upon the legalization of abortion within the United States. And this is probably one of the most contentious topics. If you ever want to divide a room, do not hesitate to bring this case up. The room you are in will get divided. So, the case itself hinges on the idea that prior to either birth or the third trimester, depending on interpretations, any individual in the pregnancy process is not a human being, but has a status referred to as a fetus, which is classified legally as a non-human entity. As a result of this, the mother of the fetus can terminate the pregnancy at times prior to the advent of the second trimester without any interference from the court system. Now, this has remained fairly contentious. Those who support the Roe versus Wade decision argue that it was a landmark case for giving women autonomy over their own bodies, allowing them to end pregnancies and thus prevent children that they did not wish to have. Those who are opponents of the case, however, argue that the fetus is not in fact a non-human entity, but is in fact a human being, and as such should have legal rights of its own, which are being denied by this process. This becomes a very contentious issue, because by this interpretation it would actually make it an act of mass slaughter on par with the destruction of the Native Americans or other such acts of brutality in U.S. jurisprudence. So it remains fairly contentious to this day. Now, while Roe versus Wade asks the question of when is it that we become people, Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission asks by far a stranger question. Are corporations people? And then answers that question with yes. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission argues that in the legal sense, a corporation becomes its own distinct person, distinct from the owners or members of the corporation, thus allowing a corporation like, say, Walmart to make a donation to a political campaign, similar to how you or I might donate to a political campaign. Now, then we have Justice Hugo Black. Now, Justice Hugo Black remains to this day one of the most despised Supreme Court justices, and possibly one of the most morally bankrupt human beings to ever don the black robes of a Supreme Court justice. The first thing that is most likely well known about Justice Hugo Black is that he had connections to the notorious Ku Klux Klan, which were known in Washington before he was given the office by President FDR. And if any doubts remained about his potential racial insensitivities, he authored the majority opinion on the Korematsu versus U.S. case, which we discussed earlier. So this has just been kind of a brief sample platter of the controversies related to the Supreme Court. I hope you enjoyed this session.